Welcome to episode 319 of In Touch by iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Jill McKinley back on the show. How are you doing, Jill? Great to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. It's good to see all of you again.
Yes, it's like a month ago we were at Macstock hanging out. Literally, looking at the date here, very close. And also here is Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing well. Classes have started, so after we finish this podcast, I'm going to drive two knitting needles into my ears. I've spent a day in meetings, people talking to us.
Yep, you got to get prepared.
So I'm really glad to be here.
I'm glad you are as well. I'm also glad that Jeff Gamet joined us from an undisclosed location this week. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, and I have to say, witness protection, the places they're putting us in are really nice now.
They are. There's a very pleasant place there. And Ben Rather couldn't join us tonight. Unfortunately, he's a little bit under the weather. He has been a couple weeks here now, but we miss you, buddy, and hopefully we can get you back on the show soon here. So, but there's still lots of stuff to talk about. Apple, I tell you, it's never a dull moment each week here. Beta, we just got some new beta releases. We'll talk about that, as well as I got some great topics ahead with some great news. So like we pretty much always do here this week. Let's start off in the topics and with beta. Apple did seed the developer betas of iOS 18.1 and iPadOS 18.1 as well as Sequoia. That's the version that's for just the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, and as well as all the M series Max and Sequoia. So Apple Intelligence is enabled. I've tried playing with it a little bit, and it seems like it's got some work to do. I must say, they included some of the writing tools that are available whenever text can be selected and edited with spell checking, Siri new designs and stuff. Are you running that on your phone, Marty?
Yeah, I have it on my phone and trying to find deliberate ways to play with it. It seems like I run into it when I'm doing something. And it's like, oh, that must be Apple Intelligence working for me. So it's surprise right now. I would love to see deliberate walkthrough of what's available now. I don't know if anybody's ever going to do that, but it would be fun to play along with whoever would do a video of what's available in Apple Intelligence on this beta.
Yeah, it would be helpful. I was trying to scour the internet for something to get used to it on the Mac, because I got some M series. I got an M1 Mac Mini that I use as a beta device and started to play a little bit, but I'm going to go back and play some more. So, but I think we're going to have a bit of ways to go even once the release happens, because we're probably not about a little less than a month away from Apple announcing all these new products this year, as well as iOS 18 will get released. We kind of have to anticipate that. If you go, for those of you who are not on those devices, the sixth beta of the developers beta for iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 was released, as well as the public beta. I believe that's public beta 3 or public beta 4. I have to look at that. And it's definitely going to be, they're kind of doing those simultaneous tests here with all the stuff we've been talking about, the control center. That's amazing, and the passwords app and all that stuff. You said, Jill, you're running, you braved it, you're running it on one of your devices?
Yeah, I put it on my iPad, which is the only thing that's not used for a podcast or my work. And it's been great so far. I've enjoyed some of the customizations and looked at the photograph customization, which I enjoyed. There are some photo albums I don't really want to see at the moment.
Yeah.
It's primarily like I had cats and they passed. And so I'm like, quit showing me my cats. So I just don't want to see them right now, And so I'm kind of glad there's more customization for that. So I think it'll be helpful to people. And I looked at the AI and I couldn't figure out where it was, but I heard that it was summarizing email. So that was primarily...
Yeah, the summarizing email is still going to be on hold just yet. I think they said that it wasn't going to be released here. We do have there was an article here from Mac Rumors that did a comparison what the new features have 18.0 versus 18.1 and shows what you can expect so far. So, as that comparison. Timing wise for releases, like I said, we're probably looking, they're anticipating right around mid-September before before iOS 18 would get released, and then 18.1 would probably come out a month later. Again, that's speculation. We'll see where the timing is going to be on that as far as that goes.
I think they're a little optimistic on
I think so.
When 18.1 will really drop.
Yeah. I think they're being a little aggressive with that date. And again, it's a rumor, so we don't know those exact dates yet. We don't even know when the event is yet. So that's something we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on. As you know, we will do that here. I'm sorry, and I confirmed there was the 4th betas of the public betas that were out there. So they released the betas for watchOS 11 as well as tvOS 18. So nothing too notable there. As well as macOS Sequoia, the developers betas for that, as well as 18.1 for doing Apple Intelligence on the Macs on the M1 machines, which is great, I think, on the Macs, because they've pretty much opened it up to every M1 processor. Same thing with iPads. If you have an M1 or newer iPad, you have that. Whereas the iPhone is a little more limited to just right now the 15 Pro and Pro Max, and they'll be adding the 16 very soon, shortly here. So I'll expand upon that, but it's going to be pretty limited on iPhones because now there's still a lot of people out there with older devices. So I don't think they're going to be using Apple Intelligence for a bit of time here, and then rightfully so with the processor speeds and what it can handle. What Apple's reasoning is on here when it comes to that. A couple of things that they've done, as we've talked about, Max OS Sequoia now has this amazing iPhone mirroring feature. And now it's going to support the jiggle mode for managing the home screen. So now you can actually go in and control your iPhone like we could do. This is the first time ever you've been able to actually control your iPhone by clicking it on the screen and launching apps. Well, now you can actually go into the wiggle mode to be able to manage the home screen. So that they've changed that as an added option to do that. So it looks like they're looking at enhancing some of that stuff. And you guys, have you tried the iPhone mirroring? I think it's well done. It's got some work to do, but I think it's something that I like that what Apple did with that.
I just opened it up on my screen and did the click and got the jiggle.
You did.
So,
all right.
Yeah, you inspired me to see that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So looks like they're getting some more enhancements with that, which is great. It's great to see. Great to see for that. So. Other thing that they've added in iOS 18 that was of note is the new search here feature in Apple Maps was added. What you can make it much easier to find what you're looking for in areas that are not in your current location or when you're exploring a place on the map. Early versions of iOS, you would have to search nearby for, say, gas stations, restaurants in Apple Maps, but then drag the map to another location with your finger, and it will usually, but not always, auto-populate the new area with the search results of the same request. So they've made some adjustments on that. Well, Google, let's face it, Google Maps has had that feature for a few years, so it's good to see that Apple Maps has added this too. So you're definitely going to be looking at some enhancements on the iOS front. So it's with the maps specifically. So that's going to be something to look at too. So anything else you noticed, Marty, since you're the full out beta person that's been going on any of your devices?
Yeah, ironically, I was saying I was having trouble with my screens before we got on the show because I was trying to drag one screen over to an edge to make it onto the 4th screen, or an app over to an edge, and I hadn't turned on the 4th screen, and I got that automatic window that now shows up. That allows me to drop that app in a portion of the screen that I was on automatically. It was, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then that's what told me I don't have the other monitor. I don't have the other screen set up yet. But I bumped into that by accident just before the show. So another function for folks in terms of the windowing that can happen with the new Sequoia beta.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So anything notable with watchOS, or I don't know if you get too much in the tvOS that you've noticed?
I don't get into tvOS because I think I mentioned previously, I'm doing all my Apple TV watching on my Vision Pro.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to turn the TV on. I have to look up into the corner here. I have to find a comfortable way to sit back. And I'm just going down on the couch going to sit on the couch with the Vision Pro headset and doing my Apple TV stuff there, essentially through the app. I do have it on watch. I don't look at the features. I haven't looked at the features for what you can do with Apple Watch. I do like the new interface in general that'll be coming out when it goes out of beta.
Okay. Anything notable on the Vision Pro? They did come out with the Vision Pro Vision OS 2.0. It was a new beta that came out, right?
Yeah, nothing. It looks as if they're doing a lot of patching around known errors that were part of the programming and not really new features coming out on it. There's, the word is we're getting close to the end here. We're on our sixth beta sixth beta on 2.0. Yep. And so right now it's just clean up and get it set up. I don't think we're going to see any new features necessarily arriving.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it seemed like that has been pretty quiet on the Vision Pro front, unless there's something I missed that you may have seen before me.
Few new environments that not Apple is producing, but Paramount's producing and Disney has produced.
Great.
So if you want to watch movies in Iceland while you're sitting in Iceland, I guess you can. But other than that, there hasn't been any functional changes in the device.
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to be interesting to see where that goes with the new releases very soon here. And, Apple's going to be talking about it. I think the focus is going to be more on all the rest of the new products, because also rumors that the MacBook Pros are going to be coming out with M4 processors, which we knew that was going to be coming sooner than later. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that stuff very soon, and a number of other things here. So a couple other topics I wanted to touch on. I've always been intrigued about using a VPN on a mobile device, or even on an Apple TV for that matter. VPNs are always a thing that is a commonplace a lot, and these days with having a security, wanting to keep your internet surfing secure and making your activity anonymous. So specifically, you hadn't seen too many VPN vendors out there with their software wanting to actually open it up to the Apple TV, but you can go to the App Store. There are some Apple TV apps that are out there for VPN. You have to be on the 4 devices that are out there, the HD model from 2015 and all the 4K versions. It's real limited to what there is out there. An article here in the show notes from Macworld. You have one called Pure VPN, and it's a secure VPN. You can try that out and choose your location, because a lot of people want to use a VPN for the fact that you can go to something like Netflix and your Netflix account and be able to watch something that you can't normally see in the United States. And so a lot of times they show things in the UK that we can't see here, and vice versa. So tvOS that's good to see that you can do some VPN connections. You're limited on which software you like. There's so many different ones out there. I think, Jeff, you use TunnelBear, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I'm a big TunnelBear fan.
And I'm Surfshark. I really like Surfshark. ExpressVPN is very, very popular. Do you use it?
Yeah, I'm on ExpressVPN.
Yeah, they're very good. So right now it's limited what you can do on tvOS, but I also wanted to hit on what VPN services for the iPhone and the iPad as well. There are a number of them out there. This was a article here on ZDNet that they did some great reviews, and I've again, we've mentioned already a couple of them already here that was tested. So including ExpressVPN and NordVPN and Surfshark were the top 3. Interestingly enough, I don't know if TunnelBear has a version for the iPhone or the iPad. Does it, Jeff?
Oh yeah, I use TunnelBear on my Mac, my iPhone, all my iPads.
I guess it didn't make their
sometimes at the same time.
Okay. Are you using dual VPNs?
Oh no! I mean TunnelBear active on multiple devices simultaneously.
Okay. Yeah, must have not made their list, but yeah, TunnelBear is a very popular one too. So why would you want to do it on your iPhone or iPad? You still want to be secure. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jeff? Keeping things secure with the VPN?
Absolutely. If I'm on a public Wi-Fi network, I'm running my VPN.
Right. Like you're at a Starbucks, or if you're at a place that you don't trust.
Starbucks, the airport, in a hotel.
Yeah. So, Jill, do you use a VPN at all on your mobile devices, on iPhone or iPad?
Yeah, I've used Nord in the past and had some good luck with it. I've tried some others and they can be technically tricky. But maybe it was Marty who suggested this, but those barrel devices that act as a router and then you install the VPN. Is it you? Maybe it was someone else. But you basically connect this router up to the hotel Wi-Fi and put the VPN on it. And now you just feed off of that. All your devices connect automatically to it as your Wi-Fi router. And so now you're protected from whatever you're on. It doesn't work in an airport, obviously, but it's a good hotel method. And Nord has been really good for me. I don't travel as much as I used to, but obviously I use it every time I'm on some other network for sure.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I won't take credit for that barrel trick, but the one thing that I'm on ExpressVPN. One of the things I noticed when I started shopping around at other VPNs was there are some articles you can find that compare what devices you can use them on, because not all of them support all devices. And so that's important to look at when you're selecting a VPN, so you have one that supports the devices that you have.
Yep. No, that makes total sense. So just a good refresher on VPNs, being aware that they are available for this, so for your mobile devices too. Moving on, I thought this was an interesting topic, more of a news story, but I thought it was good to talk about it as a topic here. There's a report out there that Apple Watch Ultra is more popular than the Apple Watch SE. The Ultra is being considerably more popular than the entry-level SE, despite its high price point. This was according to CRIP, our friends over there doing their pie charts and comparisons. The report did detail look how the various Apple Watch models are performing in the market. The Series 9, which was introduced in September 2023, alongside with the 515 Pro, was the most popular, of course. Got 43% of total Apple Watch sales in the United States, and it's number up top, one of those. So, and then you look at the Ultra 2 is at 11%, Ultra was at 9%, the SE was like around 12%. So, kind of interesting to see. It's very close in numbers, that the Ultra's almost slightly closer, not tied with the SE when it comes to that. I mean, I think the SE is a nice, the Ultra 2 is a really nice watch. And I was always tempted to do it, but just pulling the trigger on that $800 price tag on an Apple Watch, which I've always had pretty much every Apple Watch since Series 0. I think about it, and I skipped a couple all the way up to now Series 9, which I have now, and I think Series 9 is perfectly fine for me, but there are a lot of people out there, maybe with the new Ultra that probably will come out this year. It might be something to be tempting to do, but what's your thoughts on this, Jeff? You just got...
I want one.
You want one? Oh, go ahead, Jill. You want an Ultra?
I want one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty nice watch. I've tried it on, a number of times at the Apple Store, so I'm drooling a little bit, but I mean, I'm Series 9's fine. And then Jeff, you just got a new one not too long ago with your Apple Watch, right? And I'm sure you're happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. It's a solid watch. I didn't get the Ultra, and there were two reasons for that. One, I don't like wearing watches anyhow, so a bigger watch is just not going to work for me. And then the other, so that would be number two, is that the use case that I have for that type of watch would totally work if I wanted to have two Apple Watches. But even still, the fitness tracking features, I wouldn't be able to use those for part of the year because I go out and play in the snow in the winter, snowshoeing, backcountry skiing, things like that. And I would wear the watch on the outside of all of my gear so that I could actually use it, which means that I wouldn't be able to use all of the heart tracking, blood oxygen level, things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually, okay, rabbit hole time. What I think Apple needs to do is do the accessory thing, and there've been hints about Apple making health and fitness accessories. Make a little sensor wristband thing that you wear against your skin that collects all of that data and feeds it to your Apple Watch Ultra when you're wearing that on the outside of your clothes.
No, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all.
I don't need fitness stuff. I need sickness stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need to know how many minutes it takes me to do a lap because I ain't doing laps. But I would like to see them improve the even if it's an external sensor, like you're suggesting, Jeff, for some of the health issues, being diabetic, not managed by medication. I still need to watch my blood sugar, and I have some of those devices that you wear that go to your phone. I really want it to be available on my watch, or have Apple create one of those blood sugar ones. That, frankly, the sickness functions are what keep me buying new Apple watches, as they improve the sickness functions. So now I got a EKG, I've got breath, I've got all sorts of other things that, honey, I need to get the new one because it'll do this for my, so.
Which watch do you have, Jill? You do have the Series 9?
I have the Series 8,
okay.
And it's been good for me, but I really do. I go hiking and camping in places that are very remote, and I do so by myself. And I feel like if I were to fall, having that extra satellite feature would make me feel a lot more comforted. Although the Apple Watch 8 makes me feel very comforted. And I used to trail run, and I'm hoping to get back into that. So I would love to see those additional fitness features and speeds and routes. I used to do Garmin. I used to have one of those super Garmin watches, and I'd love to see Apple get some of the other sensors in there so I can, replace everything that Garmin used to do for me.
Sure.
So, but I told myself I have to do that adventure stuff more before I can buy myself an Apple Watch Ultra. Also, I have little tiny wrists. It's the only little tiny thing I have. I'm worried it will just be as big as my hand.
The Ultra is going to be pretty big for you, probably.
Yeah.
A couple notes in the chat that youtube.com/intouchwithios. Great to see Cletus. How you doing, Cletus? So great. Glad you're back in the chat with us tonight. And Witherbucket and Ben. Ben, I think made it into the chat tonight. How you doing, Ben? Hope you're feeling a little better. You're here talking to us, as well as Brian F. And I don't think I missed anybody else here, but got a couple of comments here. It says Cletus does have the Ultra 2, and he likes it a lot. And Brian F. says he might be ready to pull the trigger on an Ultra pretty soon here. So that's not a bad deal. It'd probably be the Ultra 3, I would assume, if that new model, as they've gone with new models. So, but great to see everybody here in the chat tonight. So yeah, that's the Apple Watch. I thought that was a great thing to talk about here. Another topic I wanted to hit on a little bit is this was a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to make sure we covered it here. Apple Arcade frustrations has really persisted with game developers. Some developers have been really continuing to be unhappy working with Apple's subscription-based mobile gaming service. With Apple Arcade has been reported here. They're saying that the studios have to wait up to 6 months to receive payments from Apple Arcade. That's crazy. As well as they are pointing out the difficulties in getting response to routine emails, unsatisfactory technical support. This does not sound like Apple. And poor discoverability, and they said, so we were able to sign a good deal for our titles, which covered our whole development budget, but that's changed since the early times. A very difficult and long process to sign a deal with Apple these days. A lack of vision. A lot of complaints with this stuff, and you'd think Apple has been pushing Apple Arcade since its introduction back in September of 2019. And I have it as part of the Apple One bundle, but you can buy it standalone if you want to play games. Is Apple really wanting to focus on gaming? That's the question. I mean, they want to be they're dabbling in every kind of market there is out there. I'm sorry, you, Jeff, what do you think on this as far as Arcade? I'm kind of surprised at some of these comments.
I'm not surprised at all by the complaints, and I feel like at this point I should be. The problem that I'm seeing is the same problem Apple has always had. They are not good at supporting the gaming space, and I think that's showing with Apple Arcade. I mean, the idea was Apple was going to have this great platform where you could showcase games, get a lot of stuff in there, get a lot more interest in gaming on Apple platforms, and they just really haven't supported it the way they need to. the platform that we see from Apple that is a popular gaming platform is iPhone. And there's no reason why Apple TV can't be a solid gaming platform. There's no reason why at this point Apple TV isn't considered a streaming entertainment and box and gaming console. And yet that's not what it is.
Yeah. What do you think on this, Joel? You like play games? Is it something you do with the app? You play any Apple Arcade games?
Yeah, and I was a very serious gamer, and now I don't have as much time, and so I went to Apple iOS games, and then they just beg you for money all the time. So then I went to arcade because I got the Apple One bundle as well, and I love them. There's some really great games on there, and I'm sad to see the developers are having such a bad time. It makes me wonder if it's the same effect every tech company is having right now. Not enough people, not enough money, got to focus on our core functionality, but I hope they do the games, because I don't want to buy a Windows machine just so I can play some games. And I'm, and I would, but anyway, I'm hoping that they come together, because I do like the Apple Arcade games quite a bit.
How about you, Marty?
Jill, I don't think it's a lack of resources that's keeping Apple from doing this.
Okay.
I think it's a lack of understanding and a failure to put the correct people in charge. They need people that really, really get gaming. Get those people in charge, and then give them the authority to be able to do what needs to be done, and it'll change.
How about you, Marty?
Well, I can see that Ben woke up in the chat room.
Did he? Yeah, we're talking games.
If I was here, if we were here to talk about, if I could channel my inner Ben, I'd say, and I think I've heard him say this before, Apple has never supported a game platform. He's saying some interesting things in the chat room in terms of, getting the right people in place to do it.
Oh, see, I was apparently channeling Ben as well without even realizing it.
Yeah.
I heard these articles, a couple of weeks ago started out with Vision Pro game developers are upset because Apple is, and so they were kind of hanging it on Vision Pro, and you were seeing people upset with it. And I think that might be where it shows the most, because that headset is used for productivity, but it's also used for entertainment. And when the game developers, and we've had a few on Vision profiles, they say it's they're trying to be as kind as possible, but they're saying just the development is pretty klutzy. And sometimes it feels like they're working with platforms that are 10 years old to create games for a device that's really, really complicated. So, they have a lot to do. They have a lot to go to fix this. But I think it's a small market of people who have that headset, but it's the biggest complaint, I think, for gamers who get on it.
Yeah. One of Ben's comments, I can definitely agree with him on this, is there's a reason the guys who play the games aren't making the decisions. And then I like that comment, that I would tend to agree on that, because Apple tends to not have people who are actual, the gamers who are actually doing it and making the decisions to keep these developers happy. So, I mean, they want to continue to grow arcade. They're not going to want these developers are going to start walking away and find another platform. So, only game I really play a lot is I love that I absolutely love the solitaire game called Solitaire Plus that the mobility team makes. I mean, I'm completely addicted to that. I think I'm up to like level 300 on it now at this point.
Oh, wow.
Just like you just sit and when you're bored a little bit and you want to do some time wasting when playing solitaire. But they got some pretty amazing games on there too. But it's not for everybody. So that is definitely the case here. So it's definitely going to be something to see what happens in the future here. Let's talk a little bit about iPad keyboards. I've always been intrigued about keyboards, and I've been a bit obsessed. If I go back behind me here and pull out all these keyboards I have sitting over here from my old iPad, you probably laugh at me, which you already do anyway. But there is a lot of good choices for keyboard combination cases that are out there. Like the Apple Magic Keyboard is a nice keyboard and mouse combination. It works with both the iPad Pro as well as with the iPad Air. But I think the cons is that it's pricey. It's a high price, and you're starting at $299 with the 11-inch and $349 with the 13-inch. So, and how important is the keyboard to you, really? I know a lot of people like to have a keyboard that, and really, the goal is you want to make the iPad your default device that you do everything on. But I think we still got a long ways to go with what the iPad can do with that. But there's other choices out there too, like the Logitech Combo Touch. That one's a little less pricey on that, but for all the models. And then there's also ESR. I tried the ESR, actually, the ESR Rebound 360, where you can actually put the iPad at 360. Mm-hmm. Very heavy. I was very disappointed. That one actually was really reasonably priced. I was able to get that one for like around $99, and I was disappointed. It just was so heavy. I wasn't a big fan of it. So, and you guys, Marty, I'll start with you. Do you have a keyboard with your iPad that you use?
Yeah, I have a Apple Magic keyboard with and I wish there was an orphanage for keyboard.
Yeah, me too.
Because I have keyboards on my shelf stacked over here, and I can't remember what iPad it was for. Yeah. And, you get a new iPad, and I have a tendency to rotate out iPads a lot. You wind up getting a new keyboard because the old keyboard doesn't fit. So, and there's very few opportunities, like through Gazelle or through any of those types of systems, to sell back keyboards. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I mean, I feel bad. I brought them to Mac user groups, and folks don't know what keyboard attaches to what. But I would love to find an orphanage that I could send them to, and maybe somebody will pick one up from me.
You mentioned that this one here is the 11. I originally bought this 11 Magic Keyboard 11 Pro, my iPad Pro. This iPad actually is an iPad Air, and other than the camera, as you can see, I'm showing on camera there, that doesn't fill that completely because it just has the one lens on an iPad Air. It works perfectly fine. I mean, it's still it's still good, and this is an older model because they've changed the keyboards a little bit with the new versions of the Magic keyboards on the newer models.
I tried the Logitech to save the $20 and found that it wasn't worth saving the $20. So I would go ahead with the Apple Magic Keyboard. My typing is kind of dependent on chiclet keys, and particularly with a good spread on them because I have big Hulk hands. So I don't want to deal with any keyboard that I have to do a lot of movement through, but I also need to have the sense of a click. So, I mean, keyboards are very personal for folks.
Absolutely.
What they write. So the default for me has always been the Apple keyboard, particularly in the chiclet style.
How about you, Jill? Do you have a keyboard for your iPad?
Yeah, I have the Logitech Combo Touch, and the reason I liked it is because I could detach the keyboard because I only use it so often, and the rest of the time it's around my house and just something I'm playing around with. But I also have very tiny hands and with the tiny wrist, and so I need something that I can type on, that I can reach. And I've really loved this Combo Touch. I have the last generation's iPad Pro 11, and I've really loved that combination.
Yeah, I've tried it. It is nice. Jeff, you have an iPad Mini. I don't know. Is there a lot of any keyboards out there that fit as a case for Mini?
There are some out there, and I have played with some of them, but my iPad Mini isn't where I want to type.
Yes, that's true.
My iPad Pro, however,
that's true.
That's a different story. And I'm actually still using my Folio keyboard for because when I got ready to buy the Magic Keyboard setup, we went into lockdown and there was no place for me to go. And I need the keyboard when I'm away from my office. And I was never away from my office. I never ended up upgrading the keyboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a personal thing, finding the right keyboard. And I have found that for mobile devices, I tolerate my keyboards because I'm the polar opposite of Marty in this case. Chiclet keyboards are not my thing. I need a full-size mechanical switch keyboard because I sit there and type all day long. And that's just not what those keyboards are good for, at least for me.
And so I've decided I'm just not going to buy keyboards. Like I got, as everybody knows, talked about in previous shows, that I have the iPad 13 Pro, the M4 processor, and I really love these ZU cases. It's one of my favorites of all time. I've had them on every iPad. I always end up going to this. They didn't have it right away, so I was going through with a little bit of withdrawal, not having this case on my iPad. Well, they finally released it last month as we record this. So what I really love about it is the fact that it's got the little sections here at the base, as I'm showing on camera here, that and a stand that pops out, so you can really do a nice little angle to it and bring it all the way down to its almost flat position like this that I'm showing. And it does have a pencil holder for charging, as well as it's got a little sleeve at the back, so you don't need to be charging it right away. It's a little more secure where it's sitting in this little elastic sleeve that holds the key. Leather is really good quality.
It looks like a great option if you're an artist or someone who's writing by hand.
Yeah. But I mean, I just really like the quality of their cases. I mean, it just and compared to the ESR one I had with the keyboard, this is not even near as heavy as that one was. So, and this is not terribly expensive, like $79 for this case, and they have it for the iPad 11 Pro as well as the Air and then the 13 Pro, and I'll have a link in the show notes to Amazon to check that out if there's a case that you're looking for. So I thought that would be a good segue away from talking about keyboard cases to regular cases, just as my personal experience here. So let's move on to the news for this week. And actually, Ben was kind enough to put this in our show notes. Ben's still working with the show, even though he can't make it with us this week. We appreciate this, Ben, that Apple is opening up the iPhone's NFC chip to third-party developers in iOS 18.1. They announced this yesterday as we record this, that the developers will soon be able to do the NFC transactions on their own apps for the very first time. Some things that were mostly exclusively to Apple Pay at the present. So starting with 18.1 later this year, developers will be able to offer in-app contactless transactions separate from Apple Pay and Apple Wallet using new APIs. This opens up new possibilities for in-store payments, car keys, cross-loop transit, corporate badges, student IDs, home keys. You're getting it. There's so many different things you can add to this. Now, the only caveat going to be is, what is Apple going to charge for their associate fees for this? This isn't going to be free. So I've got a link here to the article we just talked about, as well as the support article for an announcement from Apple. I'm going to start with you, Jeff. What do you think about this announcement and where Apple's going to go with this?
Well, I haven't had a chance to read the support document, so I'm curious. The fee, I knew that was going to be for companies that want to do their own wallet, like Apple Wallet for credit cards, and that makes sense because you want to make sure that all the companies that are doing it are legit. Right. So I don't know if this applies to all the companies or just those. I've seen some arguments against Apple doing this in general because they're feeling like, well, this means now I'm going to have a separate wallet for each bank and each retailer. And no, you're not. If that was the case, that's exactly what you would see on Android right now because they support multiple transaction wallets. So, and that is not a thing there. It's not going to be a thing on iPhone. And I think the bottom line on this isn't Apple saying, it would be cool. We could make the iPhone an even more useful tool for people if we opened up NFC. I'm certain what Apple said was, what would be cool is if we could find a way to avoid governments legislating how we make our devices a little bit. So why don't we open this up and avoid that before the EU or the US decides that they're going to tell us how we have to do it?
That is true. So they do have to enter into a commercial agreement with Apple. So it's not. So it definitely is going to be big companies that are looking into this. It's not. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's your smaller developers. But and I'm just trying to find out what the fees are going to be. But Marty, what's your thoughts on this?
I think it's great. I think it opens up Apple to a lot of possible folks who want to be using this technology on their phone. I have any way you can get more people to the party, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely. And what I read off, I mean, there's a lot of potential with this too. How about you, Jill?
I'm that was one of the more exciting articles I read for this week. I was happy to see it because you have work badges and you have other types of badges. I imagine someone in New York who rides the subway doesn't want to carry another device. But then I started thinking about adoption. You know, how I don't have the driver's license. There's a lot of things that Apple comes out with that I think is a great idea. And you got to get the other party to join in. And who's going to do it? You know, I hope they do. And now you say Google is involved in that. Maybe those very same people will be a part of it too. But I hope you need partners to play with in this. And I don't know how many of them are going to do it.
Yeah. And this,
Jill, you mentioned driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
And I have personal experience with that because Colorado was one of the first states that added the digital ID driver's license Apple Wallet support. And I set it up and I've used it in the years since it became an option, literally once. And that was when I flew from Denver to Chicago for Mac Stock this year because TSA had finally, even though they had announced that they were supporting it a while ago, they finally this summer flipped the switch in Denver and started actually supporting your digital ID. In Colorado, there are 5 agencies, law enforcement agencies, that support this because they have to get new hardware that allows them to do the radio handshake for sharing the information because you never hand over your phone. You know, you don't unlock your phone or hand it to the police when they need to check your ID. It's just like they have a little camera and it scans a code or something on your phone and does it all that way. 5 agencies in Colorado support it.
And funny you mentioned that. I didn't put it, I'll include that article. You know, California is going to be the next state to add the digital ID for your driver's license. So that's
I finally added that because Ohio was just a couple of weeks and put it on. And I expected to see a picture of me when I opened it up, but all it was what?
It was a picture of me.
It was a picture of you. Well, with Ohio, they had this weird kind of, if you tilt the camera one way, the seal turns into a moon man because Ohio has NASA, we had John Glenn, all of that sort of stuff. And you had to actually click on it to get the driver's license information out of it that you would need. So it wasn't like, I imagined it as being, I'm going to have a picture of my driver's license in my wallet. Wasn't the case.
No, here's Colorado's. And you can see as I'm moving my phone around, the colors are kind of changing. It has kind of like that old National Geographic holographic picture look to it.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no picture of me that shows up, and it doesn't even show my last name. Yeah. But it is kind of cool that it has an activity list. So I have a log of every time my digital ID has been used.
Interesting. So I put the article in the show notes. That actually was just announced today as we record this about California now going to be the next state that's going to be supporting rolling out.
Great. So it'll be one more state where you can have it and not use it.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the largest states in the United States. So, you know, it'll be a lot of people, but who knows, they're all going to use it. You're right. That's the question. So I thought I'd throw this article in here only because it is from a very credible Mark Gurman from Bloomberg and about a rumor that's potentially Apple is moving forward to launch a tabletop robotic home device as soon as 2026 with a price around $1,000. Apple is going to be, according to Mark, that this project's going to be moving forward to develop this tabletop robotic device. The device would feature a large iPad-like display mounted on a thin robotic arm that would allow the display to tilt up and down and rotate a full 360 degrees, and would serve as a smart home command center, a video conferencing machine for such things like FaceTime calls and home security monitoring tool. Tabletop robot would leverage Siri and Apple Intelligence, allowing it to respond to an array of verbal commands. Apple's been toying around with this idea for quite some time, and Apple has recently prioritized development of this device because of them putting it under the purview of Kevin Lynch, Apple's vice president of technology, who has overseen such projects as the Apple Watch and now Apple's defunct self-driving car venture. So I think they'll be interesting, but we're talking about 2 years down the road here yet. And I'm going to start with you, Jill. What do you think about something like this?
I mean, I use a dead iPad for just that. It's plugged in. It's right by my desk at work. I can control my house. I can look at the radar. I can push some buttons. And it's nice to have, but I just can't imagine needing a separate device for it. I mean, that's the thing of it. To sit there in this one spot. I mean, I could see, people who are very wealthy and having them all over their house and being able to press it. But for the most part, I'm just not. I guess my iPad just works just as fine for that.
How about you, Jeff? What do you think on this?
I want to know what this is going to bring to the table that's different from what Apple already offers. Do you remember, was it last year when Apple introduced their desk kit platform and Belkin was like right on the spot with a product for it? Basically, you can go and buy a little Belkin stand for a couple $100, $300, I don't know, a couple $100 that sits on the table, on the floor, or whatever. Stick your iPhone on it, and it does. Of course, you have one in arm's reach. About this. That right there, yes, that. And now, granted, what Apple's doing supposedly will have a bigger screen and a speaker built in. Okay, so if that's all that Apple is doing to differentiate their product from what Belkin is already doing, I think that will be a hard sell at the around $1,000 price point. And honestly, if it's not doing something that's significantly different than what you can do with Apple hardware, third-party hardware, and Apple's APIs today, why?
Yeah. Well, that Belkin device was more of a design of using it as a camera stand. I mean, because you can move around and it can adjust and
that's a big part of what this Apple thing will be able to do. Like, you're going to have a FaceTime conversation, or you want to have it follow you while you record a video. That's what the Belkin thing does.
Yeah, I don't know how popular this was. I fell into the trap quick and bought that thing.
You can still buy it. I don't know how popular it is, but it's still on the market. It's still
out there. How about you, Marty? What would you? And I know you would. You would buy this device when it came out.
I'd be curious, but frankly, I kind of read this article and was hoping that it was the new improved HomePod that he was talking about.
Yeah, we've been waiting for that.
At a HomePod with a screen as being the robotic device or the tabletop device that you're going to use.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I have a couple of iPads. They sit in different parts of my house. If I need something from them, I just, like I said, I think last week, I have a chair in the living room. I drink my coffee. That's where my iPad mini is for reading news in the morning. And it sits there till the next day, and I pick it up when it's time for me to read the news again.
Yeah.
So I just don't see this as, if it's an arm that you attach an iPad to, I just don't see it as a functional device.
Yeah. Next story.
What I'm hoping is that we're missing some. Sorry.
No, keep going.
I'll be super fast.
No, go.
What I'm hoping is that we're missing the key piece of information, because Apple didn't share it with Mark, that sets this apart and makes it into one of those things where when they introduce it, we'll be like, oh, now we get why Apple was going down this path. But with the information we have today, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
Is this a gurumor?
A gurumor?
It's a gurumor.
A gurumor. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think I wish that they would spend more develop of having a kiosk mode that they could put on any iPad, and then you can decide what kind of mount to put it on. That would be more interesting to me than a separate device.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that where it's going to go is going to be very interesting. Again, we're at least 2 years down the road before this is ever going to happen. So we got some time, but it'll come upon us quick here. I thought I would mention this too. Not that we talk too much about Google phones here, but Google did announce the new Pixel 9 smartphones. That's going to be including Gemini's AI. That's their AI technology, and they announced their Pixel lineup, which is the Google 9 Pro, the Fold. I always laugh about that. The Pixel 9 and the Pixel 9 Pro, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, which will all have the Gemini-powered AI capabilities. There'll also be in a Pixel Watch 3 and the Pixel Buds Pro 2 earbuds. And they're going to be offering different size models going from 6.3 to 6.8 inch screens and so on down the line. And I just wanted to mention it only because you look at Google, look at what they did is they did not announce this till they announced this before Apple was going to announce all of their new products. So they wanted to get people excited about their products, if you want to call it that, being an Android device. But the Fold, I think, is still too soon. I mean, they're selling that about $1,900 for that base model. Yeah, so that's a very expensive device. So I like to see what comparisons are. I mean, I've got a Pixel 8 that I've had for testing purposes, and it's not a bad phone. I mean, but we all live in the iPhone world, so hard for me to really go do a comparison of it. But more of an interesting thing that Google did this sooner than before Apple did. So announcing what their new products. So what's your thoughts on this, Marty?
Oh boy, I owned a Google Fold. I loved it or a Pixel Fold. I loved it for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then I sold it to reclaim the cost that I got, or close to the cost that I got. And that was nice.
Yep.
I had a Pixel 7 before that and loved the phone. So I pulled the trigger yesterday and bought a Pixel 9 Pro. So thanks for the setup, Dave. Fall is when I have a grant that comes through with a bunch of international teachers who come to our university, and they're all on Androids. They're all on Samsungs. They're all on that kind of platform.
All right, I'm gonna have to start switching to my Pixel 8 here now.
I got tempted, and it's coming September 10th.
I mean, you're funny. Well, then I must have been on your wavelength and thinking about this when I put this in our show notes this week.
Yeah, I'll play with it. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is try and move all my calls to Google Voice, and then I'll get all of my calls through it, and play with it so I can go between the phones that I have without a little bit easier than trying to switch everything over to one.
Or separate number.
But it's entertainment. The camera's great. There are some things that I really like about the interface. Yeah. So I got tempted. Marquise Brownlee had some good things to say about it.
I have to watch. I haven't watched his review.
Although he's not my favorite person, but he had some positive things to say about it. So I thought, okay, well, time to play.
You were surprised about the? Oh,
and I'll sell it to you in 6 months, Dave.
Okay. Did you go all out and get all the high memory to it, so it costs too much money?
No, I didn't.
Get the base model.
I didn't get the high memory stuff. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this, Jeff? I mean, I just found more of the interest of the fact that Google announced this earlier than Apple did with their products.
I think Google, they want to make sure that they are ahead of Apple's news cycle, so that whatever Apple announces in September, Google can and the media will be able to say, and look, Apple is trailing Google because they're announcing all of this now, and Google did it a month ago. That said, I'm glad that Google continues to roll out new Pixel phones, because if you're going to buy an Android phone, you should just buy one of Google's phones.
No question.
No
question.
I think you're going to get the best quality phone, and you can buy the phone with pure Android on it and not some other company's skinned Android, older version of the operating system thing. Just get a Google phone and be done with it. But yeah, I'm certain this is all about trying to jump Apple in the news cycle.
Yeah, for sure. You got the last word on this, Jill. What do you think?
Well, I haven't had a Google phone before. I've had a Windows phone before, but
yeah, remember.
Yeah, but I think Gemini's been a disaster. I've been unimpressed with it every time I've tried it, and so I like Apple's approach of just having some sort of base feature, and then eventually saying, pick your AI, and we'll integrate, hopefully, with that, so that you can choose what you'd like to choose. And I don't think that Google's going to offer that kind of a choice ever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no question. So that was a good discussion, and I got two more stories I want to hit real quick here. Apple Music with spatial audio is now going to be available in Rivian vehicles, which was surprised how much Rivian is so against CarPlay. This is going to be available in the Rivian electric vehicles as part of the company's Connect Plus subscription. Rivian's latest software update brings a unique built-in Apple Music app to the company's vehicles, and allowing people to access their music libraries, of course, of 100 million songs. So, again, looks like it's interesting how this is. And then there's a quote here from the CEO of Rivian saying that we have no plans to introduce support for Apple CarPlay in its vehicles, remarking that we just believe that it's just such an important piece of real estate, the digital ecosystem, that is something that we want to retain. Okay, so you're retaining with technology that's not out there that everybody else wants to use. And I'm going to start with you, Marty. What do you think on this? You're muted, Marty.
Yeah, sorry. I was sneezing before. I wanted to keep it out of the show. But yeah, I think, it's another case of potentially this company shooting itself in the foot, and not necessarily buying into the whole CarPlay thing, but including the spatial audio piece is not. It just seems like, why not go all the way and have the device fully functional instead of just using the audio portion of it.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
I think they're being foolish by not supporting CarPlay. I think they should support all of the in-car phone integration platforms, or at least the major ones, and then let people have the one that they prefer. My feeling about their strategy is that while they're not going to support CarPlay and have no interest in supporting CarPlay, they're thinking that if you throw iPhone users the bone of, hey, you can use your Apple Music in our car, that will be enough to keep most of the people that would otherwise say, I won't buy the car because it doesn't have CarPlay, actually in the potential buyer pool. Whether or not that will be effective, I don't know. Tesla has already done this, and so now Rivian's on board. Is that going to be enough to placate people that really want CarPlay in their EV? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Jill, the final word on this one.
Yeah, I've been car shopping, and the absolute minimum is that it has to have CarPlay.
Okay. There you go.
In the car. There's just no other choice. And this seems to me a way that Rivian could distance itself from Tesla, for example, and say, we're doing this. I worry all these car companies are now saying, oh, you know what? The car is the next iPhone. We could sell services. We could sell all this stuff. And that's maybe why they're not either using CarPlay or they're trying to get away from it. I hope that's not what they're trying to do. But this would really make Rivian stand out. And I just don't get it.
I don't either. Just
Jill, to support what you just said, and I think you nailed it right there. They want to sell their own subscriptions.
Yeah.
To be able to do Apple Music in your Rivian car, you're paying a subscription for part of their add-on entertainment package, if I read the information correctly. Yep. So yeah, you have to pay extra to be able to do this thing where you plug in your iPhone and play your music. Subscriptions, that's what they want.
Yeah.
I don't listen to a lot of music in my car. I listen to podcasts primarily. And it seems like that's just one piece of this. I guess I would have to go through Spotify to get the podcast if I want to play the podcast. Because it's Apple Music and Spotify, but it doesn't say about any other Apple services. So,
final story here this week: Apple did open up Apple Maps earlier this year in July to be able to be used on the web, which was pretty awesome. And now it's supporting in the Firefox browser. This web feature will now be supported with the Firefox browser. That's happened this past week. And of course, users on the Mac, PC, and iPad can now visit Apple Maps on the web, and the site works as intended. Prior to this, the Apple Maps website popped up an error message saying the Firefox browser was not supported. Well, Apple just went ahead and added another support to the Firefox browser. So good to see that Apple continues to want to support these products and not be so narrow-minded and not opening it up to these other browsers. I mean, I'm a Firefox browser user. Not everybody likes Firefox, but I tend to enjoy it. So any thoughts on this?
Good. If you want your map service to be used by everyone, make it available to everyone. Yep. Simple as
just
that.
Like Google.
Yeah. So my guess is that they had enough in place when they launched that they could just get the ball rolling, and they were working on the Firefox support, and once that was ready, they added that in. Doesn't stop everyone from begging on Apple because they didn't support Firefox right out the chute, but okay, they've got it now.
Yep, absolutely.
I want this so badly to get out of beta.
Yeah.
Because I find it really difficult to do my searching. Like if I'm going on a trip somewhere, I'd rather do it on my desktop, have it saved to my phone, connect it with CarPlay, and punch and go, instead of having to do it on my phone in the car to get where I'm going and then choose what direction I want to go while I'm sitting there waiting to get out of the driveway.
Yep.
I would much rather, I'm waiting for this to get out of beta. I've been using it and finding ways to find out how I need to go somewhere, but I haven't been able to transfer it over to my phone yet.
Yeah. Yep. It's got a little ways to go. Like you said, it's in beta. So, but I'm glad to see they're going across all the major browsers and supporting them. So it's a good thing. But all right. Before we go, I just want to make sure I mention Macstock 8 wrapped up, of course, a little over a month ago as we record this. But you are going to be able to purchase the digital pass that's going to be out there to be able to see all the great talks that include everybody on this panel this week. And I know Mike Potter is working hard to get the first edits available out there to look at it on the digital pass. We got a link in the show notes that you go to max.conferenceandexpo.com. You can check that out and sign up. And we'd love you to support Macstock and be able to check out what we talked about this past year. Marty had some great talks. Jeff did as well. Jill and myself and others. We'd love to you to support Macstock and grab that digital pass. You'll have some great stuff to be able to look at and check it out. So Macstock.conferenceandexpo.com, and the link is in our show notes too. So check it out. And with that is our show for this week. What a great show. Appreciate all of you being here and everybody in the chat and on the YouTube. And let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a Patreon of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. It was great to see Ben hanging out with us tonight. He couldn't make it, but we're glad he was there. Witherspoon. And Cletus was there, and Brian was there, and I'm sure a number of others were out there as well, enjoying the show live. And yeah, you can come there and check it out during that time. And you also can listen to past shows as well as watch the live stream. I leave the live stream up there so you can go back and watch it if you want to. As well as you can also go to In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon. It's at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Jill McKinley, so glad to have you here this week. Great show as always with you. And where can people find you?
I have some podcasts. Buzz, Blossom, and Squeak is my latest. It's all about getting outside and seeing nature and enjoying it and learning a little bit more. But you can find all my podcasts at A betterlifeinsmallsteps.com. That's that's the hub.
Great. I'll mix it up here a little. Jeff Gamet, so glad you were here this week in your undisclosed location. Thanks for joining us. And where can people find you?
If I tell you where I am, then I have to kill you, and I would feel really bad. So I won't tell you where I am. Okay, so thank you for letting me join in. And on socials, I'm Jay Gamet, and you can find me right now. I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram, but I'm on like all the others too. And then for shows, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Here with you, Dave, on Thursdays for In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, The Big Show on Thursdays, The Mac Show on Fridays. And Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch. And the show that we're watching right now, she has seen many times. I am watching for the very first time, which is why we're doing the show, Stargate SG-1.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people find you?
It's fun to be here. You can find me Tuesday nights on In Touch with iOS, and Thursday here. You can catch me with Mac Voices Live on Tuesday nights, and here on Thursday nights on In Touch with iOS. I like to think Wednesday is sort of my Jeff sandwich day, because I've got Jeff on Tuesday and I've got Jeff on Thursday.
A Jeff sandwich is a good sandwich.
I might be in that sandwich too.
With the M. Yeah, with the M. Sandwich.
Sam.
I do vision profiles with Eric Bolden, and we've started to do live streams on Monday nights at 9:00. So we are venturing into that world, and that's always fun. So I'm prettying up my backgrounds as things come from Amazon in the next couple of days. And we're enjoying that podcast a lot about Apple Vision Pro. You can also look for me on Circular Firing Squad and the Tech Savvy Professor, all of them found at thepodtalk.net.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Marty. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show and enjoyed watching it. I hope everybody in the chat and on YouTube enjoyed it as well. And we love doing this show, and we'll be back again next week talking more about all kinds of different technologies and Apple and everything else. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.